Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 269 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on July 29th, 2025. How are all you wonderful folks doing? Yeah, things are good on this end. A lot of things going on, especially on this episode. Today, we have the technical discussion for the new Dillon Rifle Company DRC556 silencer. Very interesting performance showcase from that silencer last week on the M4. We're going to go deep in analysis of that today in the talk, as is tradition. And as a treat, more data and analysis is being published with today's episode. Yeah, the Systems Monarch Recce. You've seen the Monarch silencer tested by our lab on 308, that Monarch 762. So that was cool to see. That was last year. So how does this little 5-inch Recce silencer do on the Mark 18? Completely different, but pretty cool. I think some folks might be pleasantly surprised when they see this. So we're going to hit the introduction to that silencer for the report that's published today on this episode as well. Okay, so that's the two things we'll get into. So let's get on with the show. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, boy, so glad to have you. Strap in. We're going to talk about silencers for a little bit here. It's going to be cool. And there are going to be timestamps in the episode description, just like there are in all episode descriptions. So you can skip to wherever you would like, as you see fit, no matter where you're listening, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever. Okay. Real quick, and you can skip this if you want, but you don't have to. I'm going to tell you about the companies that make this podcast possible, like Legion Athletics. Because nothing you do, exercise, sports, or anything is worth doing without consistency. You got to do things all the time if you want to be good at them. And Legion Athletics can certainly help you with that. Whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout. Do they have everything you need? Not everything, but they have a lot of it. Okay. Visit legionathletics.com. Link in the show notes. Code word PewScience. Buy one, get one. 50% off of your entire shopping cart with that code. And keep using that code. After your first order, you'll get 20% cash back on everything you buy going forward. It's awesome. Podcast is also brought to you by the fine folks at Silencer Shop, the largest distributor of silencers that exists for consumers. They've done a lot for the industry, and you can use their kiosk to cut down on errors and simplify your silencer purchasing process. Get a money-back guarantee. It's pretty good. No paperwork errors, just you and your silencer with no drama. Really, silencer ownership simplified. The podcast is also brought to you by Top Gun Range out of Houston. They're actually a dealer that really knows silencers, and they let you evaluate them in real time. They have the largest firearm rental inventory in Texas, 15-lane indoor shooting range. If you're on a business trip in Houston, pass by Top Gun Range. Hang out with Kyle and his crew there. Shoot some awesome guns, suppressed. Try before you buy. TopGunRange.com. This podcast is also brought to you by the fine folks at Capital Armory. Boy, are they doing cool stuff there. And they're true silencer people. Much like Top Gun, Capital Armory, like the folks that sell the silencers, and I mean, everyone from the folks who work on the counter to the higher ups, they're actually gun people. They actually know about silencers. And they're not just gun people, they're silencer people. It's pretty rare, actually, to have folks like that high up in the industry, and they are. So something else that Capital Armory does is really cool is they can send silencers directly to your door. Yeah, you can be chilling on your couch watching Netflix, and you're like, I don't feel like going to the gun store. You don't have to. Order on capitalarmory.com, and you can ship the silencer directly to your house. Like if you work nights or something, you don't have time to go to the gun store, Capital Armory might be for you. Finally, this podcast is brought to you by PewScience. Yeah, the PewScience Laboratory. I'm the technical director of the lab, and we continue to do this podcast every week for the past 200-something episodes. We think it's good for education. Our goal is to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time. I think that is working. You can visit our website at pewscience.com for the suppression rating. Yeah, it's the simplest, most accurate hearing-safe rating for suppressed small arms based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before the combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone. It's the home of the silencer sound standard. 7 sections, the most in-depth and accurate silencer data analysis in the entire known universe. And you can support our effort, our lab, all the testing we do by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. It's really cheap, and it would be awesome because you get tons more data. You get special member deals. You get a direct line of communication to us, and you have the wonderful sense of satisfaction of supporting the best science or research in the world. What's not to love? But if you don't want to spend any money, that's cool too. Just spread the word. let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome, and we can all work together to improve everything continuously. 2 topics, okay? I'm going to go into topic 1 at a time of 5 minutes and 10 seconds. Oh, that's a good omen. One moment. You see, it's a good omen because the second term was an exact multiple of the minute term. It's 5 and 10. And sound signature used 6194, the Dillon Rifle Company DRC556 on the 14.5-inch 556 M4. We introduced the silencer last week. We published the article last week. This purposely induced porosity silencer is out there in the wild for a while, so people have been able to shoot it, and now you have the real data too to back up what you've been seeing. Let's go deep. Okay, so DRC556. Where is this guy here? I got it on my desk. Yeah. It's growing on me. I like the grip, the surface there. We'll talk about that. Inconel alloy. It's a nickel alloy. 5 3/4 inches long with the direct thread mount installed. I just so happen to have this one bare without a mount installed in front of me. Really high performance on the M4 in pure suppression. So we're going to get into that. What I'll do, I've been looking at, I had a little outline of what I was going to go over. Yeah, I'm going to put some subtopic timestamps. Let's talk about the physical overview at a time of 6 minutes and 38 seconds. That'll be good for people to be able to do. So yeah, when you look at the silencer, really big wrench flats in multiple places. You get them near the mount interface. You get them on the entire proximal section because it has big old flats there. That's cool. So if you really needed to, you can wrench this thing on or off with a tool. Now, if you're worried about marring the finish, just use padded jaws in whatever tool you're using, maybe painter's tape on a crow's foot, figure it out, or just repaint your silencer later, like whatever. It's going to get dinged up because it's a tool, but I understand. I understand you wanted to keep it nice. I will say, when you look at those wrench flats on the back of this thing, you move forward on the silencer, and you do see a fancy design. So maybe those in the market for this, maybe they want to keep the silencer looking nice. In that case, just be careful. But I did want to say it's pretty unique. That fancy design, like I was saying, is on the outside of the silencer. It's 2 purposes, in my opinion. The first, you do have that grip texture. I like it, man. It's almost like a knurling, but it's like doesn't stylized. Depending on your choice of mounting system, you might need to get a good purchase on this thing. You might need to get a good grip on the silencer to torque it on and off by hand. That's common. And having a grip surface like that is nice. The other purpose for that design, rather that aesthetic design, it does mask the PIP vents, those distal vents, and more on that later. But yeah, you can almost you don't see them, but they are in the little designs. It's just actually kind of camouflaged. Has that classic Dillon minigun looking barrel design on the distal end. When you look at the business end of the silencer, you can see that's pretty clever. And that entire section on the distal face, that where the end cap would be if it had a removable end cap, it's all PIP vent. Yeah. Finish looks good. It's gray, which is nice. Gray and black are good colors. Simple. It's good. Who doesn't love gray and black? So I just want to tell you that. Very good. Let's talk more about the technical design because the outside is important for some people, but not really for many. 9 minutes. Silencer design. Okay. It's 5 3/4 inches long with a mount, but without a mount, it's 5.38 inches long, 1.75 inches in diameter. So shorter than the PTR Vent Spiritus, but larger diameter than the Spiritus. Okay, so when you look in the first expansion chamber of this silencer, or you would call that the blast chamber in common vernacular in silencers, it's where you screw the mounting system in. When you look in that chamber, you're going to see vents around the first reflector, and another word for a first reflector is a blast baffle. Okay, you look in there, you see vents around, not on the blast baffle, but around it, and they look a lot different than they did in the PTR Vent Spiritus, don't they? Yeah, they look different, but there is venting, and that venting is important. It's critical. I would say it's critical. When you look in this silencer, in the Dillon, there's less venting there. And I think the reason why is because they had less time to deal with the blast loads because it's shorter. And so to achieve the specific performance or the specific performance goal in this particular design they were going for, they did limit that venting. I think that's why they did it. Am I putting some words in the designer's mouth? Yeah, I am. Am I correct? Well, I think I am. And even if it wasn't purposeful, it was serendipitous, because I think it's important that they did it the way they did it due to the rest of the design. And we can talk about that later too. But without the mount, 15.4 ounces, so right under a pound without the mount. For an Inconel 556 silencer of this level, of how this silencer performs, I don't see anyone complaining about that. It doesn't seem too heavy. But to each his own, or to each her own, depending on how much weight you want hanging off the end of your gun, depending on what you're doing with your gun. When you look inside the silencer more carefully, if you want to borescope it or look at it cut in half, if you're a competitor, whatever you want to do, it does use some conventional baffle technology. There's no secret there. But it is, nonetheless, it is classified as a hybrid design. The early venting is a big part of that. The supplemental PIP used in the silencer really ramps up efficiency. I think that's important. And it does it in a couple of ways, and I think we should talk about that now. Let's talk about performance. A time of 11 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay, good stuff. This is like what everyone really cares about. 1 second. It's all related, but I know how people can be impatient. How does it perform? Pull up the report on the website. That's Sound Sequence Review 6.194. 194th report in the Silencer Sound Standard on the website. Again, this is on the 14.5-inch M4 mid-length gas system. Bottom line up front, 43.6 suppression rating, 1 meter left of the end cap of the silencer, 1.6 meters above the ground in the true free field. 21.0 suppression rating, 6 inches right of the shooter's right ear. Yeah, that brings us to a composite suppression rating of 43.7. And the standard untuned 14.5-inch M4 A1R3 mid-length gas AR-15 with 076 gas port, H2 buffer, stock position 4 of 6. All those parameters are qualifying the suppression rating that we calculated, okay, because that's how it was tested. Okay, so this is high. This is a high suppression rating. It's definitely high. The composite rating is very up there, 43.7. That's very high. What is driving it? What is driving the composite suppression rating? If you have a muzzle rating of 43.6 and ear rating of 21 flat, what's driving the composite? It's the muzzle rating, clearly. 43.6 at the muzzle is wild. I mean, now, what about at the ear? Well, we're going to get into it, but it's lower, a lot lower. Scroll down in the article. You can scroll past the table unless you're really into the peak averages, which, hey, it's okay to do that if you want, but I'm going to tell you stuff that is important. Start with figure 1, blast overpressure in the free field, 1 meter left of the end cap. This is the data with which the muzzle suppression rating is calculated. Okay, literally, this is the raw data plot to show you. That's what we're looking at. What do you notice right away when you look at that pressure signal? Your gas is holding on for dear life. That's one thing I noticed right away. It takes a while for the blowdown to occur. It's very interesting for such a short silencer for that to happen, and they're really wanting to maximize the utilization of PIP here. That's clear. And they really want to make sure they trap a lot of combustion byproducts to do that. And when you zoom in to the early time view of that combustion propagation, the blast overpressure, the free field sound pressure, these are all synonyms. When you zoom in to the early time view of that in pressure space in figure 1B, you do see some interesting stuff. And it's really trapping gas. But you can see there are some spikes in early time. Some of that's PIP, some of it's distal vent. I think you are trapping a lot of gas here, and I think it's a double-edged sword for this design. What you're seeing, or what you do see in Figure 1B, you see that early FRP jetting. It's pretty apparent. You can't miss it. And you see it take hold early in the impulse histories in Figure 2 when you go to the blast momentum. So you're going from pressure space to impulse space. You're just hopping spaces really quick by looking down to the next figures. You can see the FRP take hold. You see the FRP momentum start to run away. And then you got to wonder, I mean, maybe they're just not forcing enough of that extra combustion through PIP fast enough in early time to quench. Maybe it's taking too long to quench because it can't. I don't know. Maybe does it not vent off the first reflector fast enough to go directly to PIP? So now you're going in the primary bore and you're favoring bore flow instead of PIP flow during that first shot. Is that what's happening? I mean, we make some postulations in the report about it. I think I would need to see a cutaway of the silencer to understand more. I have not seen a cutaway. I'm thinking that's what's happening. I think you're favoring that annular flow, and that's what's driving up back pressure a little bit too, and it's causing the FRP not to be used quenched as efficiently as well. I think it's a double-edged sword, and I just don't think you have enough length in this silencer to deal with the FRP in the way this silencer needs to deal with it. I think this silencer, the way it's designed, needs to deal with it in a different way, and I don't think they're allowing it to. And that's okay. I'm just pointing this out. You can shoot this every day, twice on Sunday, and see this behavior. So it's clear in the measured data. It's clear when you look inside the silencer. Again, I'd have to see a cutaway, but that's primary theory. So another interesting thing is the way, and we're still on blast momentum. If you're keeping score, we're still in Figure 2. Another interesting thing is the way you do eventually get to really normalized flow, but it takes a while, or a little bit. It takes a moment. It takes a moment to get there, and it's a pretty consistent silencer, but it's jetting in a way that's a little more chaotic than the Spiritus did. And you can go back in that report and check it out, but what is that? Is that the thing we just talked about? Is it the size of the distal vent regions being differently coupled with the short length of the silencer? I mean, it might be. Again, we have some theories. I think it's performing in a consistent way, but it's different than the Spiritus. I keep going back to the PTR Spiritus because when you examine the two silencers, they're just so similar in several ways. I know they look different, and they are different. They perform differently, but they're similar in a lot of ways, and I think the blast chamber design is a big differentiator between the two. Once you get past the obvious gross exterior dimensions of those two silencers, when you really shoot them both and you really look at them both and you really look what's going on, I think you'll find that the really meaningful difference is the blast chamber and the length. I mean, one thing we know, you're simply not clearing off of that blast baffle as fast with the Dillon. And that's elevating early time back pressure for sure. You would want to avoid that. You would. And you would want to increase your early time flow rate. You would. But what would happen if they did and kept this short length with this design? With this design, there is potential that they would reduce their gross suppressant performance. They would lower that muzzle rating. Now, were they willing to do that? Were they going for a very high gross suppression performance parameter? Were they going for that high composite? Maybe they were. It is a very competitive space. There is strategy being employed by people. People know you can tune your gun. This is real. I'm telling you guys, if you're a consumer and you're seeing what's been happening, there is strategy afoot. People know what to do to get certain results. Now, did Dillon accomplish what they set it to do? I think absolutely they accomplished what they set it to do. Is what they set it to do what you want in a silencer? Maybe not. But that's not what I'm at. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Because when you look at this, I think it illustrates a little bit of a trade-off. It's a little bit of trade-off with this silencer, and I think this does highlight what I think is a little bit of a trade-off with some of the implementations of PIP. And I think I alluded to this on the last episode. PIP isn't a do-all Wunderkind. It's not a do-all perfect thing. Like you could slap some PIP into an existing silencer design and get decent results. You could. But if you really want to take advantage of all the performance potential with the technology, you have to do it holistically. You have to engineer it. You have to optimize it within the design. And overall, I think when you see these silencers continue to be made with PIP, I think the shorter you make these PIP silencers and the way they're designing them, I think the more you have to think about flow rate and maybe reducing that early time flow rate to achieve the high levels of suppression, which is what they did here. Short length is the enemy of all silencer design. That is true. And I think PIP implementations react to it in an interesting way. The trade-off in this particular design is reduced length but increased early time restriction. And I know it sounds simple, but the fact you have to do it, even with this technology, is a sign of probably at least one of two things. Either the rest of the design could have been more advanced and they didn't make it that way, or the PIP tech has an inherent pressure envelope for operation that you need to stay within. And both of those could be true simultaneously. I know I'm getting a little bit abstract in this explanation, but I'll also be very careful how I talk about it. Remember, I can't design silencers. It would be conflict of interest. So moving on, I think it's a good thing. I think it's good to view this in a comparative context. On the M4, if you're looking at short silencers, the only thing that comes close to this right now, holistically, is the Cat WB, and there's not a lot of stuff out there besides those. And we're gonna get to some things. Sure, you'll see more. Believe me, but when you get this short, it's really hard to get it quiet like this. And there's something in the report. Did I put that in there? You'll have to read this. I'm not going to read it to you. Yeah, okay, so essentially I've talked to you about a lot of this stuff, but Research Note 4, you'll see it. I brought it up, the BOE Mod 1. So it's a big silencer, right? The DRC556 from Dillon, this silencer we're talking about, it almost hits the gross suppression performance of the BOE, and it's like a full 2 inch shorter than the BOE. Okay, that's a really big deal. So I think it's important to look at this in context of what this is doing for its length. And members, if you're a Pew Science member, you have access to the full reports. When you look in the member section 6.194.1.2, which are the sound signatures of the shooter's ear, both presented and analyzed. Excuse me. You're gonna need to pay particular attention to some of the latent blast loads, the kinematics of the weapon, some of the positive phase duration components and the momentum curves, or the impulse. It's all subtle. It's all subtle, but it's showing something that I think people that are interested in this silencer need to understand. And I've been trying to tell you, it is a higher performance silencer, but it does require attention when it comes to host. Okay? Do not expect to put this Dillon silencer on an untuned rifle and get the experience of a Huxworks or a Cat WB or anything that is mitigating ejection port blast to a high degree. You are going to want to tune this a little, or rather, let me say that more carefully. You're going to want to tune your host a little bit from the untuned state that's tested in the report. And I think it's important. And what is that? Adjustable gas block, heavier buffer, both. I don't know what you're going to do. Different gas tube. you understand that that's like an ad nauseum thing we've gone over for years. You can email tech@pewscience.com if you need to explain if you need help with the explanation. But I don't want people thinking just because just because a silencer has PIP like this one, just because it has PIP doesn't mean it's super high flow rate. That's not what that means. People think of that, oh, it has a lattice, so the gas is just going to pass right through. There's no back pressure. Well, no. That's not how these silencers are designed. If it was just a tube full of porous structure, well, it would be completely different than what this silencer is. It's not that. It's not that at all. It has a lot of conventional baffle elements, a lot. Okay. Now, can the shooter or operator have a wonderful experience with the silencer? Absolutely. They absolutely can. But you're going to get some more ejection port blast and gas phase back in your face than with some of the other high performance hybrids in this performance class, and that is to be expected. And you look at the shooter zero suppression rating, it's really not very high. Now, is that a consequence of the gun too? Is the M4 overgassed? Absolutely it is. But this is a high level of competition. So you got to look at it all in context and know you're going to want to maybe tune the gun a little bit. Nothing crazy, but you're going to want to have to tune the gun a little bit to really have fun with this, okay? I just want to make sure you understand. And I think you scroll down further in the report, you get to figure 5 count. The bar chart gives a really good breakdown. And it's cool because it's not so big yet because the M4 data set's not so huge, so you can actually read the bar chart. Wait till you see the next report. You're punching way up in muzzle suppression. You look at this bar chart. Look at this, dude. Look at the red bars. Guys, look how far it is away from the top performance. They're neck and neck. This is literally a high performance drag race at this point. Companies are literally coming from out of nowhere. I know Force Systems have been around a little bit, but consider them a brand new company in the silencer world. They're very new. But look what they're doing. Okay. Look at the muzzle suppression ratings. Now, look at the shooter's ear suppression ratings. Way different story. Way complicated. See how it's like the waveforms are more complicated? There's a lot more going on. This is like an important... I just want to take a second to tell you the suppression rating is very powerful. Okay? Quantifying the waveforms measured near your face when you shoot. I mean, measuring them is one thing. Quantifying how dangerous they are, that's another. And I think you can clearly see that in the data. There's a lot going on. You look at the muzzle suppression rating on this bar chart, and yeah, the Dillon's up there. It's neck and neck, and everyone's like, yeah, I know those silencers are quiet. Yeah. You look at the shooter's ear, you see you're really going to have to start to do some optimization to balance that on an untuned gun with this silencer. Dude, 43.6 compared with 21 at the ear? Come on, man. But the M4 giveth and the M4 taketh away. Nobody's hitting 30 on the M4 that you're seeing, okay? So the dwell time giveth, the dwell time taketh away. All right? You shrink that gas port maybe, and then we'll talk. Maybe you change to a piston system, then we'll talk. But right now, maybe you see, you got to tune because that gun is not awesome. Hey, but it's a standard gun and proliferates widely. Remember when we picked the M4 and we didn't pick a carbine length gas? Be happy we didn't pick a carbine length gas, bro. We picked mid-length gas and still look. That's right. And look, and so 10,000 foot view. One moment. 10,000 foot view. Look at the chart again. This thing is not that long, right? Look what it's doing. Go hold a BOE Mod 1 and put it next to this. Your eyes are going to get wide. You're going to be, I'm telling you, form factor is becoming a thing. And to be clear, it's not like in the make-believe, super happy fun time, oh, we make a really efficient silencer because if you multiply the volume of our silencer by the length and divide by the girth and do a rain dance, and you're going to see we're the most efficient. And no. When I talk about efficiency like this and like this form factor argument, I'm talking about how short can you get your silencer and still be quiet. And I think that's meaningful for users, right? Like, really, the only thing a user cares about with regard to like form factor and performance ratio is how big is it and how much performance does it have. Don't try to complicate that. Okay, so if you can get good performance for a small size and the size is within the envelope of the end user's requirements, you are doing good things. Full stop. Don't break out the math and formulas. Well, if I take the surface area, no, stop. If you have to do a mathematical formula to explain why your silencer is efficient, you have veered way off into a field, and you need to get back on the road and understand that your users want practical sizes with good performance. Okay, and when you look at this Dillon silencer, it is smaller than many full-size 556 silencers, and I still wouldn't call it a K-can, but it's shorter than an RC2 is. Okay. Again, and to hammer that point home, I think we've talked about it for at least the past 2 episodes. I mean, look, if a company wants to release a full-size silencer and a compact silencer, and then they call their full-size silencer a full-size and their short silencer a K size, who the hell is anyone to second-guess them on that? Fine, dude. I'm not, of course. Do whatever you want. Call your silencers whatever you want. That makes sense. I say let folks call their silencers what they want to call them. But if you do that, and you call your silencer a K-can, and then you only compare it to silencers that are way shorter than yours, well, then don't call it a K-can comparison because it'll mislead consumers. That's just a silencer comparison, like K-can. You feel me? Like, I distinctly remember somebody in the silencer marketing space calling the Q Southpaw a K-can. That might not be true. Okay? I definitely heard someone say that. That's not okay. Because that's going to mislead people, okay? Now, if you're the company making the silencer and want misleading people, well, it's your decision. So I think all in all, where is it? Oh, I lost it. Oh, shoot. Here it is. All in all, this thing for the size, I think it's hard to do what the silencer is doing for the size. I'm not saying it's impossible because it's not. And you'll see things come out and it's not impossible. Clearly they did it and other people can too. I'm just saying it is challenging. And over the past few years, I don't know. You just haven't seen things like this do what it's doing. Look at the ranking section, guys. And if you really want to do it faster, if you are a member, look at the scatter plot below the table in the members ranking section and filter by length, filter by weight. Look at that. You're going to see what I'm saying. Okay? I think gone are the days you need some gigantic silencer to achieve incredible suppression. That's just not true anymore. And that's great. And that's awesome. I think this is the time. The time is here. The time is nigh. It's like, it's like that. What's that show with the guy from Eastbound and Down? Danny McBride. Righteous Gemstones. That's what it is. Remember, he's like, my reign is nigh, or something like that. It's funny. I don't know. Big things. Go check out the report if you haven't. All in all, it's a cool silencer. I think it's a cool silencer, man. I think I don't know. Some people like the design on the side. Some people don't. Whatever, dude. It has. You can grip it. It looks cool. It suppresses a bunch. Versatile mounting system because it's hub. It's not that big. It's durable. It's Inconel. You got to clean it because it's PIP, but hey, the manual, I read it. It recommends the Cat 206 cleaner. Cool. It's good to know. I'm sure there's other stuff you could use too. Figure it out. Talk to Dillon about firing schedule. They understand machine guns. Because they make miniguns. Talk to them. The firing schedule's in the report. Firing schedule's in the manual. Because I pulled it from there. That's it. I think that's all I got on that. We over half an hour in. So yeah, big thanks to Dillon. It's huge, man. And also yesterday they joined Pew Science as a corporate member too, which they totally didn't have to do, but they did. And you know why they did it? You think they did it because they wanted their logo on the page? No. They told me why they joined. They wanted to learn more. Yeah. All you consumer members, it's super cheap for you to join. I mean, you get the same information the companies get to learn from. They're all trying to learn. This is not stopping. It's not getting smaller. This is growing and continuing. Okay? So huge thanks to Dillon. Really big thanks for them to trust in our laboratory to perform this work. I shot a minigun before. And maybe they're going to let me shoot some more minigun stuff. That'd be cool. Speaking of form factor, I'm running out of gas. How small can we go, do you think? We just talked about a 5.75 inch silencer with a mount included. Let's talk about the Monarch Recce. Monarch Recce at a time of 36 minutes and 8 seconds. Okay, Monarch Recce. Sound signature view 6195. 4 Systems Monarch Recce on the 10.3 inch 556 Mark 18. Oh wow, now we're going shorter barrel. Speaking of form factor, a little over 5 inches long here as tested, ready to party. Hybrid design again. What did I tell you was going to happen? Gosh, I wish, I wish I would have been taking screenshots of like the internet experts over the past 5 years and what they have been saying, just so I could like put it on like a bulletin board, like Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, put it in the bar and just like point at it. Yeah, I saw a guy the other day, and he was, I say a guy, an owner of a large silencer company, and he was like, "Oh, you can't make a decent 556 silencer shorter than 5 inches long." Okay. Do 556 silencers have to be loud if they're short? Learn more about why or why not in today's report. That's right. This tiny little guy. 4 Systems, yeah? Small company, new company. They put out the Monarch 762. You saw the report on the 308 bolt gun. Published about a year ago, last July. So it's about a year ago to the month. They've been around. They've been slowly improving their stuff, learning how silencers work. They're new. That's okay. They're doing good things. Everyone starts somewhere, and they're certainly off to a running start. The Monarch 762, many people like it. This is now their Monarch Recce. Comes in Inconel and titanium. It's 3D printed, like most everything that is really cool is made nowadays is 3D printed. 1.62 inches in diameter, only 4.92 inches long with no mount. That's right, actually less than 5 inches with no mount. So it's a sub 5 inch silencer technically. We tested it with a little Zilch hub mount with a little Reardon flash hider inside that hub mount. Total length increased to 5.13 inches. Yeah, so it's a little over 5 inches long total. Almost 3/4 of an inch shorter than the Dillon silencer that we just talked about. So it's, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but guys, this is a form factor competition. It is heating up. Okay. This is on the Mark 18, not the M4. I know we're hopping around, but it's okay. It is what it is. Something about this little Recce that you need to know, and this is important for you to understand. I'm going to say it now. It'll come back later, but listen to me now, and you'll just put this nugget of knowledge under your pillow. This likes high pressure. Okay? And it's a good thing, since you can clearly put this on a short barrel of 5.56 and get good performance for the size. So it likes high pressure. Remember I said that. Okay, cool. I think when you see the suppression ratings from this little guy here, this little Recce, it's on my hand, it's so small. I think when you see the suppression rating of the Mark 18, you're going to be impressed. I was. It wasn't too long ago and maybe this is why those silencer companies sometimes say this. It wasn't too long ago when you did have to compromise using a 5-inch silencer, like the Surefire Mini 2. Hey, we just did the Cat T-Swift 2, but I don't really consider that in the same class. It's a blast diverter. That's a compromised system in my mind. But hey, if you're into those things, I'm not. If you're into those things, yeah. If you have a blast diverter, go and get that. If you don't, well, you don't need that. The Mini 2 from Surefire is they talk about that all the time. That's a 5-inch long silencer. This thing's 5 inches long, this Monarch Recce. This makes you ask the question, well, can I have my cake and eat it too? Or whatever that saying goes. I don't even understand that saying. It doesn't make any sense. If you have your cake, you can eat it anyway. Whatever that saying is, does this silencer change the zeitgeist, or the opinion, the prevailing opinion? I think silencers like this. I think silencers like the Monarch Recce are saying pretty loudly or pretty quietly. I think they're saying maybe that does change the opinion. Depends on your point of view, I guess, but you'll see it. There's some unique performance factors for the silencer. We're going to discuss it on the technical talk next episode. One of them is flow rate. One of them is overall performance. And I think one of them is how they managed to combine the two. And that is a really cool thing for such a small silencer. And when I say small, I do mean small. I do. And we packed a bunch. I have the report here. That's going to be published in the morning. I went through it earlier. It's in good shape. We packed a bunch of comparisons into the report so you could really get a feel for what this thing is doing compared to the competition. Yeah, there's the bar chart, but there's also in the text, there's some really good contextual comparisons for you. I think it's going to help you put it in perspective. I think that's the power of the suppression rating, which is really going to help too. Power of comparison is, it's invaluable. The specimen that Force Systems sent us, it is green. I really like the color, actually. I don't know if that's the standard color they have. I'm sure it is. We tested, it's Inconel. We tested the Inconel version. It weighs 13.4 ounces by itself. With the mount assembly, it weighed a little over a pound. So that seems to be pretty commonplace. And man, without a mount, it's less than a pound, 5 inches long. It's really short too. Bro. I don't know. I think the silencer is going to put a lot of people on notice. Now, is it world beater performance? No, it's not. Now, is it balanced performance that's incredibly difficult to achieve for this size on a Mark 18? Yes, dude. I think it's very balanced, and I think it's well-rounded, and I think it's doing incredibly well on the Mark 18. I do think that. So big thanks to Force Systems for continuing to trust PewScience to do this third-party performance validation. They continue to trust us. We've done a lot of testing for Force Systems. They're great guys. If you see them, give them big ups. Tell them what's up. Welcome them to the industry. And I think encouraging new up-and-comers like this is cool. They're hard workers. And they have some neat designs. And they're performing well. That's cool. You like that. So go check out the report. It'll be live at 0700 Central on Wednesday morning. Tomorrow morning for you, for me, and then for you, maybe you're listening to this when it's live and you can read it and follow along or whatever. No, read it, understand it, put it in your pillow. We'll talk about it in detail next time, okay? Okay. Stay safe out there. I hope this podcast was informative to you. I'll talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.